Good morning, everyone. My name is Cassandra Williams of Cassandra Williams Enterprise, and I am your victory coach. What do? I come out here every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and I help you build the life that you've always dreamed of and live there. I don't want you to walk into the room, size it up, and say, nah, this isn't for me. I'm not quite sure if this is where I want to be. I want you to be able to live in that place. Rest, rule, and abide. God said in John 10:10, I came that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. And that word abundance means to the full till it overflows. And so you should have more joy, more peace, more money, more than enough to share because we are blessed to be a blessing. And for so many years, I lived beneath that privilege. I was just kind of wandering around, just kind of going through the motions. And guess what? One day I decided, you know what? There's more. And I want it. And so I did what needed to be done. And so we've been, this week, we're going to come out and we're going to talk about it's time to change the narrative. That sometimes there are things that are being said that does not um, reflect who we are. It does not reflect where we want to be. It does not reflect the truth of the matter. Okay. And so let me say this first. Let me say thank you to my replay viewers, those people that are viewing this at a later time. I don't take it lightly that you come into these broadcasts because you could have went into any other broadcast. So thank you so much. Good morning, Kenneth. Thank you for coming in. I'm not seeing too many comments over here on Facebook as of yet, but good morning to those that you that are watching, and I can't see who you are. Um, but if you are here, when you come in and you watch the replay, just say replay. Let me know that you came by. Hearts, thumbs up. I hope something that will be said during this teaching that you will feel equipped, you will feel empowered, you will feel encouraged, and something will educate you a little bit to act. Okay. So we're changing the narrative. And when you get ready to change the narrative, sometimes, sometimes changing the narrative is not easy. Sometimes changing the narrative is not popular. Sometimes you're going against those cultural norms and those things that are we've seen generation to generation. And so when you get ready to make those particular changes, for example, one of the changes you can change the narrative, and I'm just going to use this as an example starting out. You can change the narrative by what you eat, what you drink. And I have this product that I've been using, okay? Because I'm not buying a juicer, I'm not going to the store. I don't want to have to figure it out. So, Tip Swallow Catering, she makes these amazing 100% juices, y'all. And so Coach decided, you know what? I'm going to change the narrative. I'm going to change what I'm putting inside of my body. I'm going to do what is best for me one day at a time. Okay. I didn't go through my house and say, oh my God, I'm going to throw out all the food, go throw out everything. I've just started making little small changes, like drinking this juice, juicing. And that has made all the difference in the world. I'm changing my narrative. I didn't throw away the old book. I'm changing the narrative one day at a time. So what does that word narrative mean? Okay. Narrative is spoken or written account of connected events or a story. Okay. A way of presenting or understanding a situation or series of events that reflect and promote a particular point of view or a set of values. So y'all, when you don't speak up sometimes, and I'm not saying that, rah rah, make a lot of noise, but when you don't change your particular narrative, you allow people to speak for you. Meaning, if I don't do what I need to do for my body, then I will allow the medical industry to speak for me to say, you know what, African American people have high blood pressure. No, you're not going to speak for me. Good morning, Brother Michael. Thanks for coming in. No, I'm changing the narrative. So you won't speak for me to say that I have high blood pressure. You won't speak to me to say that I have diabetes. You're not going to speak for me because I have the power. I'm going through the process to change the narrative. So you have the power to change your particular narrative. What are some of the things that you need to change and take control of in your particular life to change the narrative? Because like over the last, few months and weeks and stuff, in the business world, we would like to say, when we say the 5 P's, we say proper preparation prevents poor performance, right? And so that means if you properly prepare, you are able to pivot, you're able to, make the appropriate changes that need to be made at the time they need to be made. Good morning, Katina. Thanks for coming in, sis. And so, but over the last few weeks, we've had some different P's that we've been hearing. Pandemonium, pandemic, pain, poverty, persecution. Those are the P's that I've been hearing. Y'all, it's time to change the narrative. It's time that that's not all that's being spoken about. We've got to go through, because I'm going to give you a few more P's this week. And the first P I want to talk about is process. You've got to go through the process to get to the other side, to get to the other thing. We don't have to stay in pandemonium. We don't have to stay in a pandemic. We don't have to stay in a place of pain. We don't have to stay where we're living in persecution. We don't have to stay in poverty. We don't have to. It's a choice. It's a choice. Every day that you wake up, you have choices that you make. Good morning, mommy. Thanks for coming in. Every day that I wake up, I can decide, you know what? I want to lay in the bed today. I don't want to get up. That's my choice. But if I lay in the bed and I don't complete my assignment and I don't do what I'm supposed to do, then guess what? God is not obligated to do what he needs to do in my life because I'm not being obedient, right? And so we have choices that we make every single day. You have choices to make to change the narrative. You can change the narrative. We're changing the narrative one person at a time. You are responsible for you. You work on effecting the change in you, and then you go and affect the world with that change. Change starts with me in my household. I'm the person that cooks. So if I'm fussing about, man, I'm gaining weight, I'm doing that. Whose fault is that? Mine. I'm the cook. If I don't like what's going in my body, who changes at me? So I have to change the narrative. I get to change the atmosphere. I get to change what's being spoken over my family. Small changes. And so you get to change the narrative. You get to change the narrative. Is your life pandemonium? Are you in the pandemonium, or are you going through the process to get to the other side? Good morning, Kamita. Thanks for coming in, sis. Are you living in a state of pain? Because y'all, there was a season of my life. Oh my God, it hurt to walk. Okay, I was in so much pain. Now, what sense does it look like for me not to do what's necessary when the doctor says I need you to eat certain foods? I need you, because I didn't want to take pills. I didn't want to have surgery. I didn't want to do any of that. So he was like, look, you're going to have to lose weight. Now, I'm going to either stay in pain, or I'm either going to go through the process and do what I need to do to get over on the other side where I can live pain free. I changed the narrative. We've got to change the narrative. And that's what we're going to be talking about this week. Changing the narrative. If you go to John 5, 1 through 18, that is talking about the man at the pool of Bethesda. Jesus was good at changing narratives, y'all. This man had sat by this pool for over 30 something years. And when Jesus asked him, do you want to be made whole? He said, well, See, I don't have, I know the water's troubled. I know I can, he said, but I ain't got nobody to put me in the water. That wasn't the question. The question was, do you want to be made whole? So there are some people that are asking you questions and you're giving them excuses. They didn't ask you your history. They didn't ask you about where you been and what your mom and them did and where you lived and where you came from. Because there are sometimes we discount ourselves. We got to change the narrative. We've got to change the words that we speak. So what? You from a small town. I'm from a small town. So what? So what? You didn't go to an Ivy League college. So what? So what? You're not eloquent of speech. So what? So what? You have a Southern drawl. Somebody needs to hear that, to know that, you know what? It's okay. It's okay for me to show up unapologetically. It's okay for me to show up authentically. I don't have to change who I am to be used by God. We got to change the narrative. And this man was sitting by this pool, and when Jesus asked him, "Do you want to be made whole?" He gave him excuses, and he asked him again, and he said, he said yes, and he said, "Take up your bed and walk." It wasn't hard, it wasn't difficult, but there was a process he had to go through. Now, if you've been laying here on this on this mat for 30, I think it was 36 years, and somebody tell you to get up and walk, there is a process you go through in your mind, because you're gonna be sitting there like, you okay. You just told me to do something that in my natural mind I know I can't do. So you've got to get past you. You've got to get past yourself. You've got to get past your mentality. So if we're going to change these words, those 5 words, pandemonium, pandemic, pain, persecution, poverty, if we're going to change that, we're going to have to go through the process of changing our mind first. Because when God comes and he says, hey, get up, take up your bed and walk, go forward. When we start seeing, even with the way I hope everybody going to vote today. If you have not already did early voting, if you have not, I hope you will let your voice be heard. I hope you are changing the narrative by going to vote. Okay. Side note, back to these regularly scheduled programs. Okay. That you have got to change your mindset to be able to do what you've never done before. When we cross over into that place of, you know um, racial reconciliation, when we get to the other side, when everybody's holding, when we see that accountability, and when we get to the other side, our mindset has to be changed. We can't take this old mind into that new place. We can't do it, because then the same pandemonium is going to go. Because guess what? It's in us. The pandemic, it's going to go over there because it's in us. The pain, it's in us. Persecution, spirit of poverty, we can take it with us into the new place. So we got to transform our mind, because when Jesus met in John 4, after 18, when he met the woman at the well, changed the narrative. This is a woman that was known for having many husbands. She said, "Oh, I done had, I done had a bunch of them, and this one ain't mine." Well, one, she was a Samaritan, so by law, by culture, Jesus shouldn't have been talking to her. No way. The Samaritans and the Jews didn't like each other. That sounds like something we deal with today. They didn't like each other. They just, we don't deal with them. And he said, I need to go through Samaria. He was on assignment to go to Samaria because he had to meet this woman. And when he met her, he changed her narrative, because now the very woman that a lot of people probably didn't want to be around, because I'm pretty sure the other women didn't want to be around her because of the lifestyle, because they were scared she was going to be after they man. We go there, ladies, we do. And so, you have to change the narrative. Jesus changed her narrative because now this woman that nobody wanted to deal with, this woman that was going to get water when nobody else was there because she didn't want to have to deal with them. This woman that, kind of hid in the shadows because it's like, I'm so sick of people talking about me. I'm so sick of what everybody else got to say. I'm just, And Jesus spent a little bit of time with her, changed her whole narrative. She went back in to the city talking about, let me tell you about a man. Changed her whole narrative, changed her whole life. Rahab, the harlot, the prostitute, changed her narrative with one act. When the spies came into the city, she hid them, she let them down, and she made her ask. She knew what her ask was. She said, I have one request, that when you come in, when your God delivers the city over to you, remember me. And she had to go get everybody in her household because guess what? They had to be in her house to be saved. For some of you, if we're going to get rid of pandemonium, pandemic, pain, persecution, poverty, it starts with your house. It starts with you. You got to get everybody in the house on one accord. Because listen, they didn't tell her give a scarlet cord to every one of your relatives and tell them to put it in their window. No, they said when we come through the city, put your scarlet cord in the window, and everybody got to be in your house. We had to be in the same place on one accord. Pookie and them couldn't be like, well, no, I'm gonna be down the street, and no, I got to run out and do this. If you wasn't in the house, you weren't in that space of obedience. So you got to have your mind transformed that you can follow directions, specific instructions. And we know Saul, who later God changed his name. He had a Damascus Road experience. God changed his narrative. He was a murderer. Here we have this man that was murdering the Christians. And one encounter with God, one encounter with God, and that murderer became the biggest advocate. Y'all, we got to change the narrative. It's a process. Yes, on the road to Damascus, Paul became Saul, but he had a process that he had to go through because when people saw them, they remembered what he did. They knew who he was. Even Ananias, when he first told him, he said, now I'm sending Saul of Tarsus to you. But he's had an experience with me. He said, now wait. This is the man of God. He said, wait. He kill us. You want me to minister to him? You want me to allow him to come into my house? He killed Christians. There are going to be some people in this season. If we're going to change the narrative, we're going to have to allow God to be God. And God is going to change the heart of some people. And we're going to have to minister to some people that persecuted us. We're going to have to minister to some people that caused us some pain. We're going to have to minister to some people that are coming out of poverty. We're going to have to minister to some people that got caught up in the pandemonium. We're going to have to minister to some people that's been in a pandemic for a long time to let them know that Jesus is a healer. He healed you. He healed me. I know he saved me. And if he can do it for me, can I tell you, he can do it for you and he can do it for others. So during this season, as we're changing the narrative, I don't want anybody to get beside yourself to think that salvation is only for me, that there's unsavable people, that salvation isn't for everyone. I don't want you to get beside yourself to think that God can't change the heart of the persecutor. Mm. Shadarabasia. God can change the heart of the persecutor. And we can't get beside ourselves and say, God, you can't save them. You supposed to smite them. And we start praying that kind. No, we've got to allow God to, because we're going to change the narrative. We've got to change the narrative. What do you do when that person that caused you the most pain comes back to say, not even really to say, I'm sorry, but they come back in a surrendered position? They may not ever say the words, I'm sorry, but the way they come back, they're in a surrendered posture that you know they need you. Will you turn them away, or will you show them the love of God? Will you change the narrative? Will you change the narrative? Will you change the story? Will you allow people to continue to speak for you, man and woman of God? Will you allow them to speak on your behalf? Will you allow what CNN and NBC and ABC and all these networks, will you allow them to continue to speak for you? Or will you stand up and will you decree and will you declare and will you will you change the narrative? I've chosen to change my narrative, y'all. I don't allow them to speak for me. They don't speak for me. I understand what's going on in the world, but I understand that I have the power. That's another P word. I have the power to change my narrative. And by changing my narrative, I am affecting what's going on. Because if my household can get it, then we can go out and we can help someone else get it. And then someone else get it, and someone else get it, and someone else get it. One life at a time, one household at a time. If you change your narrative, somebody else is going to see it, and they're going to say, "Now, wait a minute. You're not out here looking running around crazy, and you're not just you don't seem stressed." Because y'all, it's been a lot. So there's some people that are stressed. There's some people that are about to lose it. We got to change the narrative. We got to let them know about a savior. Let me tell you something. If I did not have God in my life, the last 3 months would have been very different. But because he's in my life, I'm changing the narrative. I understand the story that's being told. I'm not even saying the story isn't wrong. But what I am saying is, from this day forward, I control my narrative. You have the power to control your narrative, but you got to go through the process. Lord, transform our mind. Don't let us remember the things of old. Let us learn from the past, but let us understand that the past does not have to determine and dictate our future. We have the power through our process to change the narrative. Okay? So I want you to remember those 5 words: pandemonium, pandemic, pain, persecution, and poverty. That doesn't have to be your narrative. I understand that's what you're seeing. I understand that's what they're saying. But I come to decree and declare to you today that that is not another P word. That is not your portion. Go through the process of this change and change the narrative. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for coming in this morning, and we're going to talk more about changing the narrative. That's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to give you some tools, some techniques, some things that we can do, because you got to change it. You can't keep singing the same old song. We can't keep saying, telling the same old story. We can't be like the man by the pool of Bethesda that, when Jesus comes and say, do you want to be made whole? And he's like, yeah, but ain't nobody to put me in. Every time the angel come down and the water is trouble, then, I almost get there. I almost get there, but, somebody else gets in before me. Somebody else gets there before me. But y'all, can I help y'all? Because I'm sitting here like, now, if every year the angel come, you would think he would be a little closer to the pool every year. So at some point, he would have been laying right beside the pool. I'm just saying. Don't stay in the same place. Don't stay right there because that's where you've always been. Don't stay right there because that's where they left you. Don't stay right there because that's where they told you. Thank you, Brother Michael. Thank you. Don't stay right there because, oh yeah, I like it here. This is what everybody else is. Don't stay there. That's not your narrative. Change the narrative. So, guys, for those of you that want to connect with me, www.thecassandrawilliams.com. And for the summer months, I will have some big announcements coming out of some things that we're going to do, some special things that we're going to do, because I'm going to help you change the narrative. I'm not going to just tell you to change the narrative. I'm going to help you change the narrative. Because so often people tell you what to do, but they don't ever show you how. They don't ever give you information. They don't ever expand. So tomorrow we're going to talk about, I can't say the word possibilities without endless in front of it, because I believe in endless possibilities. Because God said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So it's endless possibilities. Okay. So you guys have an amazing, 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 amazing rest of your day. For those of you that came in a little later, I was telling you guys, one of my narratives I'm changing is I'm juicing. And I don't want to buy, I got rid of my excuses. I don't want to buy a juicer. I don't want to buy fruits, vegetables. I don't want to buy all of that. So I found someone that can make this and ship it to me, right? And they're really, really, really good. This is a beet blaster. And this right here, um, it helps me get my nutrients in the morning, and it gives me a jump start to my day. So that's how I start my day when I get up early in the morning. Since I'm up early, I don't want to eat this early. This is breakfast. So have an amazing rest of your day, and understand this: you have control over your narrative. You can change the narrative. Stop letting people speak for you. Stop letting the doctors speak for you. Stop letting the news speak for you. You change your narrative. Love you guys. Have an amazing rest of your day. And I will see you in the morning for another cup of tea. I hope something was said during this teaching that you feel equipped, you feel empowered, you feel encouraged, and somehow you feel educated to act, take action today. Change your narrative. I love you. See you tomorrow.